Hey guys, it's Jamie and today I'm going to be talking about my school experience. So, I'm a trans guy. I'm a guy who is trans and I went to an all-girls school from the ages of 12 to 16. I finished school about a year before I came out before I came out as trans, before I even knew what trans was and that it was a thing and that it was me. And actually when I was 16 and finishing up school, I was in the height of my trying desperately to fit in but failing miserably and feeling increasingly uncomfortable with myself and my body and really not understanding why phase. I just felt very confused, but I felt like I wanted to fit in. I wanted people to stop telling me that I was acting wrong or that I should do this or do that or look a certain way, and I just kind of really desperately tried to fit in as a girl and be seen as normal, I guess. Which, looking back, I never want to be normal. I live by staying weird now. But you know, I was 16 and like severely lacking in just confidence, and I wanted to be liked and I wanted to have friends and I didn't want to be the weird kid anymore. But it didn't work. So what that means is that I didn't come out and I didn't transition whilst I was at an all-girls school. I was still seen as a girl, but it did kind of have an indirect impact on things in the moment and how I felt about myself, and also it has led to a few kind of awkward moments since then. But the school I went to was very, very small. I mean, I went to a different school for my first year of secondary school when I was 11, and 1 year at this first school I went to was larger than the entire school that I went to that was an all-girls school. Like, this school was like tiny, everybody knew each other, it was quite cliquey. It wasn't bad, it was actually a lovely school and the people there were great and the teachers were great and everything. But because it was so close-knit, like, I'm trying to think of the word, like, not snuggly, that's weird, not really intimate, but like just everybody knew each other and everybody knew what was happening to everybody else. Or that's what it felt like. And because it was so tiny and so close-knit, I felt like there wasn't anywhere to hide. There wasn't anywhere where I could just kind of blend in and be myself and be a bit more adventurous with what I was comfortable with about myself and kind of explore things a bit more. That sounds weird. I just mean in terms of like my haircut or what I wore, or just talking openly about people I found attractive. But because I knew that I found girls attractive, I didn't want to talk about that. And I did actually come out as bisexual when I was 15 to like a very small group of friends that I had at this school. It was very awkward and I was like, please, 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 please don't tell anybody. I don't think they told anybody, but like people kind of, I don't know, started asking me questions, not like directly after, and it was kind of happening a bit before as well, but I think people labelled me as a lesbian because of the way I acted, and I was like, that was something I was like desperately trying to get away from. I was like, I don't want people to ask me questions, I don't want people to like think of me as different. I'm really fed up with sticking out, I just want to blend in. And that was kind of like my whole mantra whilst I was at that school. And I think something that's important to mention that relates to that is I missed quite a lot of school. I won't bore you with the reasons why. I have talked about it in the past. I was seen as really strange because I was barely ever there, and when I was there, people asked me quite a lot of questions, and I just always felt like people were like staring at me, and I felt like a complete outsider whenever I was there, even though people probably weren't staring at me and nobody meant to make me feel like an outsider. It's just kind of what happened. Anyway, whilst I was at this school, I didn't even know I was trans, but I was definitely feeling the discomfort. Like, I was very, very aware of how I was feeling about myself and very confused about things and just not knowing what to do. I feel like I'm babbling now, I'm repeating myself, I will move on from this point. But yeah, that's basically one side of it. The whole kind of going to an all-girls school felt very insular, it felt very tiny, and like I couldn't really explore or express myself the way I was feeling like I wanted to. And that's not anybody's fault, that I put that on myself because of the environment I was in, but that's kind of like one side of it for me personally. But really the main reason why, as a guy, going to an all-girls school when I was a kid is kind of awkward sometimes now and a little bit strange to bring up is because it's not what's typically expected. And when it comes up in conversation, like, you know, it's just kind of like classic conversation. If you find out like you're from the same place as somebody else, or like you have a mutual person in common that you know or whatever, you might get asked like what school you go to, and I never know what to say, because like if I say that I went to that school, a lot of people who know the local area where I live will know that that school is an all-girls school, even if I leave that bit out. And that's kind of like, but I thought that was an all-girls school. And then it kind of opens up this whole conversation that I might not be in the mood to have. And also I've had it questioned on CVs, like, isn't that the all-girls school? And it's like, yes, well, I'm trans and I transitioned, but I went to an all-girls school and blah blah blah. And also, I've had people who've known me for ages, like well before I transitioned and stuff and knew what school I went to from the beginning, get confused because they're like, it just comes up in conversation, like having a chat about school and stuff, and they completely forget that I went to an all-girls school and they're just like, what? And then it's like you see the penny falling and they're like, oh yeah, completely forgot you were trans. And that's like one of the funnier ones, don't mind that. I feel like I would also both love but equally avoid with every bone in my body a school reunion. Like, I kind of really am curious about what would happen if I went to one. I'm quite open about being trans, I'm quite public with it. I know quite a lot of people I went to school with know that I am trans and have transitioned and everything, but I would just be really curious what would happen if I showed up. I have seen my old head teacher a couple times at like events at the uni I go to, and she's been lovely and like really nice, and says that like the staff do know, and like apparently they even had like newspaper clippings of me at one point, and I was like, oh my god, this is so embarrassing, but thank you for being lovely. Something else that needs like an honorary mention, and I find it hilarious, and even my mum will like chuckle about it occasionally. She'll just like randomly bring it up and be like, oh yeah, that's a bit funny, isn't it? When we left this school, like our leavers do, everybody was given like this little locket in a bag, and engraved on the locket was once a insert school name here, girl, always a insert school name here, girl. And it just makes me laugh. It's very ironic. Anyway, to make this video like semi-advicey and helpful, because I don't want to just like ramble on about me, that's a bit boring. Just some tips for if you're at school right now, not even just like a all girls or all boys school or whatever, just at school and you're thinking of coming out, and like how I deal with going to all girls school now. I'm just gonna go over a couple things. I should have just done it. I don't need to like give you an outline of what I'm about to talk about. Sorry. How I sometimes approach a situation when it comes up in conversation about what school I went to is because I went to a different secondary school for my first year when I was 11, and it was a mixed school. I essentially just say that that's where I went. Sometimes I'm just not in the mood to explain the whole backstory about why I went to an all-girls school. I'll just say that I went to this other school. It's happened once where the person I was talking to also had gone to that school, and that was a little bit awkward because I was like, why don't I know you? What house were you in? And they were like, I was in the same house though. And it's like, oh, we must have missed each other. But you know, there's me just thinking you wouldn't recognize me anyway, even if I did go to that school for the entire time. So you could always just say that you go to another local school. I would not encourage lying on anything official like a job application, but if it's just like casual conversation and you just don't want to get into it, just say that you went to a different school. Try and pick a big school, because then if they happen to have gone to that school as well, you could easily have just missed each other. And there's some general advice for if you're thinking of coming out and transitioning whilst you're at school, is to first and foremost, if you can, have as much support around you before you take that big step. I know it's not always possible, and I know it's much easier said than done, but if you can, even if it's like online people or local support groups, friends, parents, teachers, whoever, try and have people in your life who you can turn to and talk to about it and get advice. If people aren't taking it, great, you've got people that you can fall back on and talk to about it. That really does help to have that fallback, even if it's one person and even if it's people online. Then go and speak to a member of staff who you feel most comfortable with. It doesn't really matter if they can't do anything official or formal. If you feel happy talking to them about it, or they kind of know stuff already and you feel like they're going to be okay with it and they're going to help you, go to that person first, talk to them and get their advice on the next step. And just having that like authority figure, or you know, staff at the school kind of on your side in a way, it makes the whole process feel a bit easier. That's what I did at my college. I came out partway through college and I went and spoke to a member of staff who also happened to be a senior member of staff who could help out, but was also somebody who I talked to before, so I felt comfortable going and talking to him about it. I say comfortable, Shaba kicked me through the door because I was very scared, but it worked out well at the end. But at the end of the day, do what you are ready to do. My voice just broke. Do what you are ready to do in a way that you are happy with and that you feel safe doing. School is one of the most awkward times and least enjoyable times. Life is just very different after school. Like, I sometimes think back about what it was like being at school again, and I'm just like, thank goodness I'm not at school anymore. It does end eventually if you're not enjoying it. But yeah, anyway, that's everything I have for you today. I went to an all-girls school, I didn't transition there. Can be slightly awkward, but it's not too bad. And sometimes it makes a funny story. I hope this video has been useful or entertaining. I think I just enjoy talking to you guys. I'm gonna stop talking. Any video ideas, any questions that you have for me that you might want me to answer in a video, leave them below. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time, guys. Much love. Bye.